The release of Carlotta in version 2.0 got many players, including myself, excited to pull for the first limited 5-star pistol wielder that does Jinsey levels of damage if not more, but at the same time, players found themselves in a bit dire situation because Jaji, who is the dedicated support for Carlotta, was rerun in the same phase, so it became incredibly difficult, especially for free-to-play, to get both of them at the same time, and your only substitute at that time, in place of Jaji, was either Lumi or Tao Chi, which, don't get me wrong, are viable team compositions as you can see in this footage provided, but if you want to cut down their field time, you'll need an R5 Discord Broadblade and double intro skills from your healer and Carlotta. However, if you're not fortunate to roll energy regen substats on Carlotta's echoes, you might run into resonance energy issues whenever you intro to Carlotta with full forte stacks to do damage, because if you're not using Jeji, who provides 15 resonance energy to the next resonator that activates her outro skill, the double intro skills is best given to Carlotta so that you can rest easy knowing that you're guaranteed to use her liberation every rotation. But the release of Brant on the character roster opened up the possibility of running Carlotta and Brant together as a double DPS due to Brant's outro skill that amplifies resonance skill damage by 25%. If you're new here on the channel, welcome to another video that belongs to the Synergy Breakdown series, where we test how different resonators have unique synergies to offer you more variety in terms of team compositions that you can have at your disposal to save you time and money in the process. Here's a quick rotation showcase of Brant and Carlotta double DPS team composition. Keep in mind that all my characters are strictly on free-to-play builds, so you can expect higher damage than what I have in my showcase. Here we go. Now let's get into how you can make Carlotta and Brant work together. Brant's ability to generate full concerto energy without needing an intro skill from your healer in this team helps Carlotta with resonance energy regeneration, so chances of you running into resonance energy problems with Carlotta will be significantly reduced. However, without an intro skill, which fills up 25% of Brant's forte stacks, Brant will have to spend more time performing his full meter combos in the air. But we can mitigate this problem by using Verena, since she does not require an intro skill for concerto energy regeneration due to her concerto efficiency. So we can always give the intro from Carlotta to Brant, and Brant would just need to do one meter charged attack and then follow up with basic attacks to fully fill his 40 stacks after casting his liberation. This team does not involve constant quick swapping, but to increase your DPS, we'll need to do a bit of animation cancelling. Don't worry, it's not as difficult as it seems. There are 3 animations in this team composition that we'll need to cancel or swap out of to do something else in order not to waste time. The first one is Brant's forte skill, or Return from Ashes. The second one is Carlotta's Chromatic Splendor, or the second skill cast, and the last one is her forte heavy attack called Imminent Oblivion. So as an example, I cancelled Brant's mid-air basic attack for animation and then swapped to Carlotta to use her Chromatic Splendor in the first rotation. When the animation began here, I swapped to Brant to use his forte skill in the first rotation and then did an intro skill with Carlotta to do big damage to the enemy by casting her liberation. What we've accomplished here is that we have prolonged Brant's outro skill buff uptime, so it provides more room for errors if you mess up in any way when Carlotta is on the field doing damage. In the subsequent rotations, there was a slight variation. I cancelled Brant's 4th mid-air basic attack animation, but when I swapped back to Carlotta, her forte stacks were already full for me to use her Imminent Oblivion or forte heavy attack. I swapped back to Brant to use her forte skill and finally did an intro with Carlotta to do big damage while having Brant's outro buff, and this is going to be consistent in the subsequent rotations. This is the best way to do damage with Brant and Carlotta without having to stay on them during your long animations. This rotation also ensures that we always have Carlotta's skill available when she's about to use her liberation, as you guys can see right here. So after casting her liberation, you can cast her first skill to freeze the enemy in her liberation state, which starts her skill cooldown while the second skill cast is available. This ensures that she will not get interrupted for a while, because if you do, you will lose damage if you try to dodge in the middle of a death knell or cannon shot animation, because these stacks that you see right here in her liberation state will still count even if you don't hit the enemy. It's also worth mentioning that Brant's shield adds a little bit of anti-interruption to the active resonator, as I mentioned in the Acer and Brant signature video, so chances of Carlotta getting interrupted is very low. Carlotta can now use her second skill cast after a heavy attack to generate forte stacks, and the reason why I generated half here instead of 25% is because Carlotta has the ability to maintain her moldable crystal stacks throughout her liberation state. What I mean is that the moldable crystals you gain from her intro skill can be maintained even though it doesn't show up on her health bar when you're in her liberation state. So if you're quick enough to fire all her cannon shots or death knell shots in less than 10 seconds, which is how long one moldable crystal can last, you can refresh the amount of moldable crystals with her heavy attack after her liberation state ends, and then use her second skill cast to generate half of her forte stacks before the rotation ends. Keep in mind that this is not required, because even if you don't make it in time and manage to get just 25% of her forte stacks with the 3 moldable crystals you get from your heavy attack, you will still gain full forte stacks after the intro from Verena and a follow-up double skill cast. So keep that in mind. Before we get into the rotation guide, here is the build that I'm currently running on my team. I usually add a graphical representation for every rotation, but it will be a bit difficult for this team since the first rotation is a bit different from the second rotation, but I'll separate them using timestamps to make it easy for you guys to navigate to your preferred section when trying to replicate the rotation. We first start with Carlotta's double skill cast, but before she takes off, swap to Verena and spam your basic attacks until you get 1 forte stack. Use her liberation, skill, echo skill, jump, and spam your basic attacks to get full concerto energy. Intro with Carlotta and use her echo skill. Using Carlotta's echo skill here is optional, but it still does a little bit of damage. Swap to Brant, plunge with his skill, and activate his liberation. Now hold your basic attack button, but when the first mid or charged attack is completed, spam your basic attacks. When the fourth basic attack lands right here, swap to Carlotta and press her skill twice. Now you can swap back to Brant right here to use his forte skill. Keep in mind that you need to be a little bit quicker so that you don't lose the attack buff from Brant's liberation. You can always track the aflame state buff provided by his liberation using the liberation cooldown duration. If it goes below 13 seconds, it means you've lost the aflame state buff. Use Brant's echo skill and intro with Carlotta. Use Carlotta's forte heavy attack and then use her liberation. After 2 death knell attacks, use her first skill cast to freeze the enemy and spam the rest of your basic attacks. After the fatal finale hit, you can see here that I still have 3 moldable crystals, which is from the intro skill. So use a heavy attack to refresh it and use the second skill cast to recover half of her forte stacks. Now use her echo skill, intro to Brant to recover 25% of his forte stacks. Begin the second rotation by swapping to Verena. Spam your basic attacks to regenerate 1 forte stack. Use your liberation, skill, echo skill, jump, and spam your basic attacks. Intro with Carlotta, press her skill twice but cancel the animation by swapping to Brant. Press his skill to plunge to make sure that we reset his mid-air basic attacks. Now use his liberation, hold your basic attack button to use the first stage of his mid-air charged attacks, and spam the rest of your basic attacks. Cancel the 4th basic attack hit by swapping to Carlotta, who will now have full forte stacks. Use a forte heavy attack and swap back to Brant to use his forte skill. Now intro with Carlotta, use her liberation, and continue from the second rotation. That's all I have for you guys today. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and if YouTube gets it right, you should like this video that pops up on your screen. so be sure to give it a watch and join our Discord community if you're having any issues with the game or you just want a place to chill or hang out. Link will be in the video description. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.